My dear beautiful people, if we confuse our goals with other communities' goals, then our goals will never get accomplished. If we combine our goals with other communities' goals, then our goals will never get accomplished. If we join forces and help other communities reach their goals or achieve their goals, in return, those communities will not help us reach or achieve our goals. I will repeat this again. If we help other communities reach and achieve their goals, in return, those communities will not help us achieve or reach our goals. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I would like to talk about Billy Porterhouse State. And I know I'm late on his rant, but I want to address something he said in his rant. The first thing is comparing the black community to racist white people.
Black people, hear me, because y'all ain't gonna like this one. As a black queer man in America, my basic human rights have been up for legislation every single day that I have had breath in my body from all sides. And by that, I mean that the black community's relationship with the LGBTQ plus community is appalling at best and eerily similar to that of white supremacists versus black folk.
Racism is systemic. Racism is systematic. Racism is an issue of economics because racism is an economic issue. So to compare black people with anything that's racist or practicing racism is very ridiculous and insulting. There is no way black people have been worse for black members of the LGBTQP, don't forget XYZ community, have been than white America. White America even oppresses you in the LGBTQP, don't forget XYZ community. Yes, the LGBTQ community is racist because mainstream gay America is still white. So Billy Porterhouse steak, no fish, is like all these other celebrities. You can't trust him. You can't trust Billy Porterhouse steak because Billy Porterhouse steak cares about the beef. He doesn't care about black people. You can't trust these celebrities because they don't care about you or I. These celebrities care about being famous. These celebrities care about being rich, but they do not care about you or I. All Billy Porterhouse steak did was cash a check. They asked him to say it, and he did. All he wanted to do was take the focus off of the real issue. And the real issue, in which it has always been, is black people getting their land back. Is black people getting their land back. We're talking about reparations. We're talking about the land. We're talking about the money. We're talking about the health care. We're talking about the education. We're talking about the housing. We're talking about the land. We're talking about the money. We're talking about what black people are owed because black people built the country that the LGBTQP, don't forget XYZ community, gets to have fun and flourish in.
Hear me, black people, and hear me well. I'm calling y'all out right here and right now. You cannot expect our demands of equality to be met with any real legislative policy and change when y'all turn around and inflict the same kind of hate and oppression on us.
Bitch, whole lies.
And Billy Porterhouse State, along with other members of the LGBTQP, don't forget XYZ community, have the audacity to blame black people for oppression, when black people are literally the reason why the LGBTQ, don't forget XYZ community exists in this country how they do. We paved the way for all of you all. So I think a thank you is in order. If it wasn't for us, where would you all be? I will tell you where you all would be. Absolutely nowhere. But like always, when it comes to us, everybody wants to move the cheese. And in Billy Porterhouse Steak's case, everybody wants to move the meat. Now, something else he said was about trans women or trans women getting murdered by cisgendered. Okay, listen. So cisgendered is basically a man that's born a man, a woman that's born a woman, and they choose to be what they were born as. That is what cisgender is. So the Black Lives Matter movement plans on getting rid of cisgender privilege. What privilege do a man and woman have? Think about it. What privilege do a man and woman have? What's the average privilege that a man and woman have? Just think. What's the privilege? I'll tell you. It's procreation. It's man, insert penis, and woman. They have child. They have a family. That's the privilege. The regular family is the privilege.
The tragic reality here is that Black trans, as well as gender non-conforming women and men, are being killed in the United States by cis Black men to such a degree
Straight,
that it is nearly the
real
worst
Black men.
emergency for trans women on the planet. The murders of Black trans women by Black men since 2016 have helped drive the most violent period for LGBTQ plus people on record. This past week, during the peaceful protests.
So I guess about 30 transgender women are murdered a year, and most of them are Black trans women. And they're murdered by supposedly Black men. Here goes my issue with this statement. My issue is the assumption is that all transgender women are murdered simply because they're transgender. That's like saying Black men are only murdered simply because they're Black. My issue is you can't make a blanket statement like that, because what if it's just not true? You mean to tell me that transgender women only get killed because they're transgender? So what if a transgender woman robs somebody? What if a transgender woman assaults somebody? What if a transgender woman rapes somebody? What if a transgendered woman does something vile and disgusting to a person? What if a transgender woman did something that pissed someone off so much that they wanted to kill them? I want you all to keep in mind that the number one cause of death for Black men ages 1 through 44 is homicide. And yet nobody is putting together a narrative to explain why Black men are getting killed at an alarming rate. Nobody. So I'm trying to figure out how transgender women only get killed because they're transgender, as if they do nothing else to warrant them to get killed. And don't get me wrong. I'm not justifying murder. I'm not saying murder is right. I'm saying that people get killed for a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with their gender. It's not fair to assume that transgender women only get killed because they're transgender women. Heterosexual women get killed by men all the time. You ever heard of crimes of passion? You ever heard of a jealous lover? People get killed for all kinds of reasons. But when you have an agenda and you want to spin a narrative, what you do is you make the LGBTQP XYZ community seem faultless in every aspect of the word. You don't hear any negative press about the LGBTQP, don't forget X, Y, and Z community. You never hear these headlines. Gay man robs bank. Lesbian carjacks victim. Trans woman rapes man. You never hear these headlines. Bisexual person launders millions. Or trans man was accused of insider trading. The media never specifies when the LGBTQP, don't forget XYZ community, does something wrong. They receive no negative press whatsoever.
Push came to shove, worse came to worse. I fought, and I fought. And, you know, there's only so much fighting you gotta do, you know, but in the end it wasn't enough. And, you know, the man knocked me out. And when I came to, you know, it was pretty much over and done with, you know. The first 24 hours are always the worst, you know, because you're in shock, you're numb. You think about what happened, why it happened. You try to justify it, you try to rationalize it. You blame yourself. You think that there's something wrong with yourself, you know. they always talk about it happening to women out there. They don't really like talking about it happening to men because, you know, we're supposed to be macho. You know, we have a line that just can't be crossed. And that line was crossed with me, you know.
Rape is the secret in prison few will talk about.
In his prison, booty. Booty was more important than food. Booty, a man's butt. It was more, I'm sorry, it was more booty, having some booty was more important than drinking water, man.
If you go to these prisons, 99.9% of these rapes committed by the inmates are committed by members of the LGBTQP community. I'll say it again. If you go to these prisons, 99.9% of the rapes committed by the inmates are committed by members of the LGBTQP, don't forget X, Y, and Z community.
Especially during the 1970s and 80s, when he was most active and prison security was more lax.
When I see one, and he looks good to me, when I go see him, I say, you come here. I say, I'm telling you what, I like you, and I want you. And we can do it the easy way or the hard way. So the choice is yours, right? And it was always yes.
So Billy Porterhouse Steak, stop cashing checks at the expense of your people. What am I saying? We haven't been your people for quite some time. Stop cashing checks and lying to my people.
Johnson also had a warning for the new generation of inmates. They might be asking for trouble from old-timers.
You know, they got this thing where they sag their pants past their butt. It's a style. They call it some sort of gangster style. You know, it's sexy to us, right? And see, but they weren't prepared for this, right? So you sag your pants in her, man, somebody be up in your butt, you know? And it's just that simple.
So Billy Porterhouse Steak, extra beef, please don't ever compare black people to the people responsible for systematic and systemic racism. Many black people lost their lives so that you could prance around in a dress, so that you could have privileges that black people don't have, so that you could be exactly who you want to be with no problem. Don't let that pink meat go to your head. Big pun intended.
Gay!